Welcome back to Let's Talk Buffalo. I'm Armando.
And I'm Alessia. Summer in Buffalo is a great time, whether you're a local or a tourist. When you go sightseeing or bike riding in Buffalo, one thing you might notice are the many murals all over town. That brings us to the topic of this episode. There's been a copyright dispute between a local artist and a local business owner. Artist Casey Milbrand was recently in the news because he sent out invoices to business organizations who depicted his Greetings from Buffalo mural.
He claimed that organizations owe him money because they used his mural for commercial gain. Buffalo Bike Tours founder Mark Moscato is one of the individuals who received an invoice from him. Moscato posted the invoice on his Facebook account asking his Facebook friends for input. For this episode, we got the perspectives of both Milbrand and Moscato, and we also spoke with law professor Mike Igo.
He taught us about some of the things that are important to know about copyright. Stick around to hear what our guests have to say on Let's Talk Buffalo.
And if I don't actually send out those bills and I actually don't go after the largest of them, I can't actually sue someone in court.
Make a bunch of money off of small community businesses, nonprofit organizations, public universities. Like, why are those the people that we're going after?
My name's Casey Milbrand. I'm a professional artist.
So, Casey, tell us about your career a little bit, if you want to give us a backstory on how you got started.
I actually got my master's in architecture, and when I lost jobs during the recession, I came back to Buffalo and started doing drawings in my parents' attic, and it turned into kind of what you see today, a bunch of murals all across Buffalo, and basically just kind of taught myself how to be an artist. A friend of mine, Lori Zimmer, who I hadn't actually met, but she had written me and just said, make sure you copyright your mural designs. And so it was nice to kind of meet with her and kind of talk about copyright and just say, thank you for giving me this advice, because as an artist, I know David and I are both kind of passionate about this. We just want to educate people, especially artists who frequently shrink themselves. They don't know kind of how to value their work and themselves, and a lot of people that kind of want to just take. And so I think we've kind of learned how to say, nope, this is a boundary, and also it's for the common good, and so when I'm protecting my copyright on a mural, it's not just for me to make money, it's for the image of the community. And so you want to kind of maintain that for as long as you can.
Have there been any specific scenarios you can talk about with those boundaries being broken?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. What I will say first is my professionalism is in line with my karma. And when I send bills to companies or when I reach out to other professionals, I always assume there's going to be another professional on the other end. Unfortunately, that was not the case recently. I can't go into all the details about that, but what I learned was, some people get triggered. Some people might not understand something, and so the thing I've learned is to always act as a professional. And so when you are ethically acting as a professional and you have a lot of negativity swarming you, it's just best to focus on the future. But also, Buffalo's going through a huge change, I'd say, like growing pains, basically, creatively. I think we're a city that we're constantly looking to the outside for, everything that's cool is not in Buffalo, but yet all of a sudden we're all like, no, actually Buffalo is cool. There's a lot of great artists here. There's a lot of great people doing cool things, but we also all have to learn collectively as professionals how to handle things when, the NFL contacts you and says, hey, we used your mural on an HBO TV show. Can you please sign this document giving us permission? Oh, it's airing tomorrow. And so then I go, oh, actually, I have a license and a copyright. And then they write back and go, we'll give you $2,500. And then you go, cool, I'll take it, knowing that you could actually get more money. But it's just things like that, you're not really prepared for when you're doing murals. And I've kind of gone through it, figured it out, and I'm proud of that.
So you really have to work your way up to a certain point. And it's like, in the beginning, if you have it, use it maybe, but you have to protect yourself in the meantime. So, and as far as your Greetings from Buffalo mural goes, I mean, you created that. That is yours. So where are you at in terms of protecting your rights?
Well, I wanted to say a little story. I started off small with the Greetings from Buffalo mural. First, it was people tracing it and making stickers and selling them on Redbubble and Etsy. And this was, 2016. I wrote to this one guy. I said, "Hey, Fred, I've noticed you are selling stickers of my work. How much have you sold?" And he said $5.42. I said, "Okay, cool. Here's my Venmo. Please send me the $5.42 you made." And that's how I started, with kind of really starting to say, like, nope, you can't use it. I've had people message and say, "Hey, we want to put your mural on coasters. It'll bring you exposure." And I said, no, I would like to be the one to make products. Right now, I'm wearing one of my products now. It's Greetings Buffalo hat, and I get to make money from the residual income from my projects. So it just kind of starts off small, and then you just start saying no, and then you start saying yes to some things, or some people. You get to pick and choose whatever you want to do. And if they're in alignment with my morals and what I feel ethically fits my brand, great. But there are some uses that are not in line with my brand. For example, you go on Google, you type in Greetings from Buffalo, and hundreds of websites come up. One is a cult. They're using it as propaganda. You could download the image of the mural from their website. And so when the news does articles, when the news stations do articles, but they don't actually know the full picture as to why I have to protect my copyright, it's not just for me to make money and to, get easy cash, because it's not easy. But it's to actually protect the image of the mural for the community. And so, it's I feel very passionate about it. There's not one artist, one professional, one anyone I've ever met and actually been hired to do a mural that I haven't talked about copyright with. And so that's just, I didn't realize I was so passionate about it. But it's exciting because it's clearly a new kind of thing that I could kind of tap into as a professional.
Okay, so I know you can't share a lot. I know there's a lot of details you can't share about this dispute, but if there's anything you can share about the process, or if there's just anything that you think is going to be helpful to get your story out, or other artists to understand where you are, or the public who might be bringing on ignorant input into your case, I think it's important to share.
I think it's just best for everyone to simplify things. The general public does not need to understand what copyright infringement is. And so when you put that in the news, it just sows a lot of confusion, and people start going, "Oh, I can't take a photo in front of his mural, he's going to sue me." And I actually I heard of a friend recently who kind of brought up, well, what if this person paints this thing and I want to bring my dog in front of this project he's doing? Will I get sued? And it's like, no. You don't need to actually know about this, because you're not infringing on my copyright. But it's the professionals and the other creatives and the other marketing agencies and people that know better. They just think you're kind of dumb. And then when you tell them, "Hey, you're doing something wrong," one person in particular actually I had an issue with recently, went to school for arts management. You actually are taught copyright infringement. And so this person's still using my copyright without my permission, even after creating a bunch of drama in the city.
This is now Mark Moscato, the founder and owner of Buffalo Bike Tours.
The mural is not really important to the tour. It just kind of incidentally happens to be on this thing. I am gladly willing to cut it out, and I was gladly willing to take that photograph down. I did immediately when I got that notice. So, you kind of brought up my background as an arts administrator. I fully believe and truly from the bottom of my heart that artists should be compensated and should have rights to their intellectual property.
I think the miscommunication is that I decided to be a professional. And a lot of people that do side hustles, or they kind of run hobbies out of their house, it's like they're not taking it as seriously because they're kind of got their, one foot dipped in their current job that makes them miserable, and then their one toe dipped in the thing that actually brings them joy and passion. And so something I learned was just that those things could all happen at the same time. And so I think what happens is when someone sees you acting professional and extremely professional, it could turn someone off who might be triggered because they know that they should be doing things differently. Or, I've had every type of person reach out to me. It's not hard to reach out to someone. You type in my mural, my name pops up. So it really just comes down to doing your due diligence.
By the way, this next question was asked by Jayyiah Christopher, another producer of Let's Talk Buffalo.
So I think that the question really is, how do you calculate the amount that you're going to ask different people? Because I saw that it varies with different organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the people that ask you for permission. Then there's people that don't ask you for permission. And then you have to kind of discover through, friends and family that your stuff's been, infringed upon. But what I will say is I started to set a precedent with how much my licensing fees were by actually charging companies that licensing fee. For example, University of Buffalo, they used my image on their site, over a dozen times. School of Law, they were actually using it to promote the School of Law. You just kind of sit there and you're thinking, why are you using all of my imagery to promote, your school? One image kind of said something like less debt at University of Buffalo, and there's my image in the background. And so what the news got wrong was it wasn't just like, I'm just sending a random bill. I actually, came up with my price that I thought was fair based on how much I could get in court for one infringement. And one infringement could get you anywhere, I think, from $30,000 up to $150,000, which includes statutory damages. So I think bills or any bill that is sent out is really kind of like a negotiation tactic. And you don't want to start and say, hey, you've used this, take it down. It's more like, you've used it, here's my bill. That's something I just taught myself.
Not surprisingly, Mark Moscato has a different take on receiving the bill. Here is how he describes his experience.
One of those photos of my the subject of the controversy or whatever is I took a photo of my tourists. The subject is people on bikes on a public street with that mural in the background, and I had posted that photo I took on my phone on my website in a gallery of images. There's probably about 15 images of sites that you would see on this tour. So we got the Guarantee Building, the City Hall, Electric Tower, all that. And also in that gallery of images, there was a photo of my tourists on bikes on the street in front of this mural. I didn't think, I recently redesigned my website, so it was up for a couple months, and I just got a letter in the mail saying, here's a bill for $5,000. You need to pay it immediately. If you don't pay it within 10 business days, we're going to file a federal lawsuit against you. So I thought that was kind of strange. That came out of left field. I was like, what is this? I was confused. I didn't really know what to do. So I went to my media community, my friends and family, and I posted this without much commentary, incidentally. I just said, hey, this happened. What do you guys think? What advice do you have? And then, interestingly, I had several friends comment on that post, 3 or 4 friends who said they also received similar bills in the mail. And they had amounts all the way up to $180,000. So $5,000 was like small. So that kind of led me to believe that there's something actually kind of going on, and that this person was engaged in some business practices that were maybe kind of questionable, because it wasn't like a cease and desist letter.
What was the reason for not sending out a cease and desist letter before going straight to demands?
A bill is not a demand. A bill is, hey, you've used my stuff. Sending a cease and desist would mean that I wasn't okay with them using that stuff. And so I made a decision that, okay, I like that this is being used, but I also just think that I need to have an energetic exchange with you in the form of compensation. And so you don't always have to send a cease and desist. You could send a cease and desist and a bill at the same time, but that's not what that was. And I will say, just to simplify copyright for the community, as we were talking before, murals and art is for the community, but it's not for commercial use. And so it's the simplest, community versus commercial. And the minute it turns to commercial, it's just you need to contact someone, email them, call them, tweet them, Instagram DM them, give me a Paulette's donut. It's just it's not hard to contact someone.
To get a legal perspective about this situation, we conducted a phone interview with attorney and associate professor Mike Igo. He teaches copyright law at SUNY Fredonia.
But there are exceptions to the rule of copyright infringement. And actually, I don't know, did you read the Buffalo News article about this?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, the Buffalo News article is pretty good because it identifies there's actually lots of sidebar issues here. So first of all, is it truly copyright infringement? Because, basically he put the mural out there, you'd think, for public use and public consumption, right? Now, generally, the rules of copyright infringement is you're not supposed to use someone else's copyright to make money off it. So the question is someone truly making money? So I read the thing about the bike place, and I guess he just does those tours, and he doesn't make a great deal of money. So, I mean, his thing is just a photo picture of where he's been. So it's not like he's capitalizing on that per se. It's just one of many stops where they drive around. In fact, I guess he's taken it off his website now. On the other hand, Roswell Park settled with him. But, the other issues that I was reading, that the guy who owns the building now, where the mural is on, is a little upset. He says, well, this is not what this is supposed to be all about. It's supposed to be a good, nice, touristy, feel-good type thing, and now he's thinking about what he's going to do. And for all we know, he could actually pan over it, So there you go.
So I guess with this matter, it's not about figuring out who's right and who's wrong. It's basically understanding from both points of view. So already kind of what you explained is some of the concern here. So let's say you were the lawyer for each of these parties. What would you be able to say about both of their...
Okay, a couple things about the basics of copyright law is copyright, the rights to do with it is yours and yours alone. So if you have a copyright in something, you can do whatever you may. Or you cannot do anything if you don't want to do anything. And that's your right to do with it. And that's called a derivative right. Anything you can derive out of your copyright is yours. And the fact you haven't done anything with your copyright doesn't give someone else the right to do that. Now, one of the first words out of the mouth of any attorney who's fighting this case would be fair use. And fair use is one of the exceptions to the rule of things you can do with a copyright. So, for example, if you're doing a movie review or an arts review or something, you can use an image from the movie or an image from a gallery shot or whatnot. Or also things can be used for educational purposes. So if I use a clip or clips of movies in my classroom, that's okay. So that's what they say on the other side. They will say it is fair use. And fair use, it can be many, many different things. Usually the most common one is educational purposes. But the main thing typically about fair use is that you got to be able to show that you're not making money off of it. So for all the people who are being sued in this particular case, I would say as their attorney, they could probably say, well, we weren't really making money off of it. So consequently, one of the bike tour people, I guess, who's being sued, I guess their case is just basically that they're taking pictures, show, the fun we have as we tool around Buffalo on our bikes, not necessarily, trying to capitalize or monetize that particular mural. So these are not easy cases in some respects, and that's what a court would have to decide. The court would have to decide, is this truly fair use, or is it actually copyright infringement? And because this case has so many twists and turns, that's what probably makes it a more difficult case to decide if it should come to court.
So Casey Milbrand, the artist, was saying that he has no problem with people taking their photos in front of his mural. That's fine. You can post them if you're with your friends or your family, that's okay. But to use it on a business website is where he is not okay. So if you were able to read the articles or watch any of the other newscasts on this, what do you think about that issue? Because the photo
they
is
both
taken
have
down.
good points, but here's another thing to think about, and I was thinking about this a little while ago. Suppose all the people who are taking pictures and posting on social media are posting on Facebook or whatever their favorite social media outlet is. Well, come to think of it, doesn't Facebook and all those things also make money off of it? So shouldn't they be sued as well? So that's the thing. When it gets down into these situations, it's not an easy sell. It's very hard to see. It's all up to the court, whatever the court wants to buy based on the facts of the case. So, yes, a copyright owner has a right to protect his or her property. But on the other hand, something like this, which is put out as a thing of a public mural that, is supposed to promote goodwill and good feeling and, a sense of community in Buffalo. And I know for a fact the owner of the building apparently is quite upset about this now because he said this is not what this is all about. In fact, I guess he donated the space to the artist to put it on a building down in Ellicott Street. So, again, this case has lots and lots of twists and turns if it should go to court. It'd be very interesting to see how the court would decide it.
And how important is it for people who are not artists, or maybe they're just not aware of copyright laws, how important is it for them to learn and understand these these issues and what it is they're allowed to do and not allowed to do?
Very important for 2.2, because if you have something good, you can make money on it. Why shouldn't you? This is America after all, right? And that's why it's very important. If you want to sue for copyright infringement, you need to be registered with the U.S. Copyright Office. And also, the other side of the coin is people who use other people's stuff. Don't do it, because it can land you in court.
Yeah, Buffalo Bike Tours is a seasonal business that I run from May through October. Our tagline is "Ride Before It Snows." It's because it's biking in Buffalo is a seasonal endeavor for most people, especially for tourists. So I lead guided history and food tours of the city on bike. I also do bike rentals. So I have a fleet of 24 bike, road and e-bikes for people to explore the city of Buffalo. So it's all about kind of connecting people to the cultural heritage and history here in Buffalo.
What is your background in arts management?
So pretty much my whole life I've been involved with the arts. My background is actually in film and video, so I studied at the University of Buffalo. I was very involved with like Hall Walls and Squeaky Wheel and putting on kind of independent film and video events. And then I went to get my master's in arts management at the University of Oregon, worked for several museums, and then founded a nonprofit in Portland. And it just, when things became a little bit too cost prohibitive there with the rising costs of rent and that, decided to come back home to be closer to my family and to be a part of, the stuff that's going on here in Buffalo, and proud to be part of the small community of change makers here in Buffalo. So, yeah.
And what does it mean to you to have this group of people and guide them and go all across Buffalo? What does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, it's I love taking, it's very rewarding taking people, especially from out of town, or even people who like live in the suburbs or who just recently moved here or whatnot, to be able to, share and just, again, be curious. So I've actually learned things about Buffalo from people who are on my tours, and I try to open up a dialogue. I try not to... I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, don't tell people, like, you should think this particular thing, but try to create an open-ended experience where people can be driven by their own curiosity.
Here's Casey Milbrand again, explaining how he felt bullied by Mark Moscato, who posted his invoice on Facebook.
Right after, Mark explains the situation from his point of view.
Another thing I want to say is, whether or not you expect to get a bill or something's unexpected, bullying, threatening, and harassing behind the scenes, which was not covered in the news, is never acceptable. And so that then makes it even harder, because now you've thrown my name all over the internet. The people who speak the loudest generally are hiding something. And the people who are just kind of really standing in their power, understanding what copyright is, and really just kind of focusing on the future, those are the people that you should be listening to.
How would me just saying, like, I got a bill for $5,000 and telling somebody else about it, how is that? I don't understand how that's threatening or how that's bullying. Anyways, I kind of discovered that he was sending out these mass invoices to, incidentally, nonprofit organizations. Roswell Park Cancer Research Institute, the University of Buffalo. Heard another story, connected with another person on Facebook. She had taken a photograph of the mural to sell as a fundraiser for the botanical garden. It sold for $200, and she was invoiced $10,000 for taking a photo and selling it as a fundraiser for the botanical garden. So it just didn't seem, Tech, I don't, he can run his business however he wants, but yeah, there's a lot to it. I mean, copyright law is complex. There's a lot of nuance to it. However, like in this case, it wasn't like I was selling this mural on a T-shirt or postcards. The subject matter of the photograph was my people on my bike ride, on bikes, having fun. It was kind of, it's incidental. All the other photographs are like my tourists in front of the Guarantee Building, my tourists in front of City Hall, my tourists in front of the Electric Tower, and then there's my tourists in front of this mural. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I would be highly surprised if it goes to court. So 10 days has come and gone. I haven't gotten any notice of a federal lawsuit being filed, but if that comes, I guess we'll kind of see what happens. But I don't know if that's like a disagreement that we have, but and it just seems like kind of like a little bit of entrapment. I mean, those 1950s postcard murals are found in like every city and across America, and the purpose of them is for people to take photographs in front of them. That's exactly what I did. I brought tourists to take their photo in front of it. I don't believe I was using it in a commercial way. There's nothing about the usage that affects the value of his ability to sell that on a T-shirt or to make prints or anything of that nature. I don't understand how my usage of it would affect the value of his work or his career as an artist in any way, shape, or form. So that's I guess my perspective on it, and I feel like it is completely incidental and would be a fair use, but there's a lot of nuance again to copyright law, so I wouldn't know.
For what we know, Casey has 3 years to bring down this lawsuit and sue you. What do you think will happen in 3 years, or how do you feel about this time frame?
As I said, I don't think that it's gonna. He can take me to court. I don't think it's going to work out in his favor in a number of different ways. I think it's already probably damaged his career in a way, like me going public with it to the different news stations and that. Certainly is going to raise some red flags if he's on any type of grant review process, things like that. It's well known that this is a business practice that he engages in, and that if he puts a mural like that on the side of a building, that he would probably be liable to repeat that behavior. So the mural is not going to be up for 3 years. I can tell you that. I've spoken with a building owner, and they're in the process of figuring out the legalities of removing the mural. So it would not be surprised if it was removed in the next couple months.
I think that everybody just has like this is you personally. This is your life, of course. If that lawsuit was any higher, it could damage your house, your financials. I get that 100%. This is personal to you. But when do you think that an artist should get paid for their intellectual property? Do you think that in some way he has a right to bill other people like you?
Yeah. So I don't know entirely everything about copyright law. I'm not a lawyer, but he probably is within his right to try to strong arm and do that. But again, I'm going to come back to the point where if he's really trying to build his art career, in my professional opinion, he'd be much better served building bridges rather than sending, for example, a cease and desist. If he were to just reach out to me, hey, Mark, I noticed that there's this image on your website. I actually have a copyright for that painting. So, I was thinking, could you either maybe take that image down, stop using it, or figure out a way that we can, come to an agreement about the usage of that image, and maybe even think about other ways that we can work together towards similar goals. That is much different than the business practice that he is engaged in.
I think where the confusion comes from is that he clarifies, if you take a picture in front of my mural with your friends or a selfie and you post it, that's no problem. But when businesses use it on their website or they use it for some sort of gain, that's where there's an issue. And like you said, it was just to promote for your bike tour the places you visit in Buffalo. So that is understandable.
So how do you think him sending this letter is different than a cease and desist? Because he said that if he sent a cease and desist, he wasn't okay with people using his image. By him sending this letter, he said he's okay with people using it. He just wants to be compensated. He just wanted to open up a conversation, and you didn't have to pay that amount. He just wanted the conversation open. So it seems that he kind of closed the conversation just with the letter and wanted the $5,000. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm just going to say, there's nobody, if you try to put yourself in the shoes of someone looking at the website, I don't think there's an argument that anyone visiting the website isn't oh my God, look at those people, look at that mural in the back of those people from the street. I'm going to buy a ticket to this tour so that I can own this piece of artwork. There's nothing I believe that it's not monetizing the artwork. It's a gallery of images of places that you're going to see.
And After this, I know you said when we asked about this initially, you said it's not really disagreement. Casey himself says it's not really a hardship, but after what has been dealt with, how has your group responded, or your bike tour? How has this affected it in a whole, and what are people saying within your realm?
Yeah, it's a great question. For sure. So I'm obviously cutting him and that stop completely out of the tour. I should mention incidentally that when we stopped there, it wasn't just like taking a photograph. I would actually, I would talk about Casey Milbrand and say, like, hey, this was a Kickstarter project. We're entering the medical corridor. This is like Buffalo's resurgence and, all that. So instead of taking a photograph there, we're going to take a photograph in front of the Keep Buffalo a Secret mural at Exeter Pennant. We also take a photo in front of a chicken wing mural on the Pearl Street Brewery. Both those entities could not believe the behavior and what had happened. They're like, yeah, take as many photographs as you want. So, yeah, I mean, financial compensation is one thing for sure. If I was selling this on a T-shirt, if I was making money on it somehow, selling prints of it, of course, you should be compensated. But if it's in a gallery of images of stuff you're going to see on a tour of Buffalo, and the subject matter is a bunch of people having fun on bicycles with like that in the background, I mean, that's why you designed it for people to take photos in front of. So for something that like doesn't make even any money, I can't see you, like, what is the point? Why are you trying to make a bunch of money off of small community businesses, nonprofit organizations, public universities? Like, why are those the people that we're going after?
Now that you've heard both sides of the copyright dispute, we hope that you are able to come to your own conclusion. We are grateful for Professor Igo, Casey Milbrand, and Mark Moscato for so generously sharing their time and perspectives. This copyright show was produced by Alessia Gervasi, Armando Giangreco-Marotta, Jayyiah Christopher, Brandon Nightingale, and faculty advisor Professor Dorothea Braemer. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and don't forget to ride your bike and enjoy the many murals in town.